Great Debaters Contest is brought to you by Safaricom M-Pesa.
Welcome to the City in the Sun, Mombasa. This is the Great Debaters Contest, the Coastal Edition. I am your host, Mariam Bishar.
And I am Austin Yombok. Our motion today is poor infrastructure is a barrier to adopting digital payment systems. We have Moi Forces Academy, Mombasa versus the Ngina Girls High School. Who will be the victor?
We'll let the debaters take the floor. First proposer, you have 3 minutes.
Infrastructure refers to the fundamental equipments, technology, and institutions that make a system applicable, that make a system applicable. And half of the roads in our country are actually not well structured. And when it comes to the electronic payment systems, these are the electronic money transfer services that enable customers to pay and purchase goods and services online, some of which you have are the Google wallets and the M-Pesa services that are offered by Safaricom, which is one of the organizations that is leading in terms of business in our country. Infrastructure-wise, Kenya is ranked 104 out of 250 nations. However, the digital payments and technology, in terms of digital payment and technology, it's ranked the 74th out of 250. And the countries that are ahead of us are Nigeria, Egypt, and Ghana. Now, despite the fact that we are highly ranked, I think Kenya has the capability of even appearing in the top 10 list. But some of the hindrances that we are facing as a country include lack of enough facilities. We do not have enough ATMs, we do not have enough M-Pesa shops, even back in our villages. I can just give an example of Likoni, where our school is located. We have 2 ATMs at the Navy Barracks, and we have 3 at Ferry, one of which is at Kingfisher, and those are located at Rafiki Banks. We also have the women's circles, which also have an ATM. Now, assuming we have many people, now I have to come all the way, assuming I live at Konampia, I'll either have to go all the way to Mtongwe to go get my money via the ATM, or I'll have to take a matatu all the way to Ferry to acquire an ATM. All because we do not have these facilities. They are scarce. We also have poor quality systems. Some of our systems are of poor quality and they're easily hacked. There's an account that was, a government account that was hacked overnight, 103 accounts were hacked overnight in our country. Now, we can also come to the lack of telephone mast and server services. I come from Kitui, and we do not have enough of this. Okay, at least we are advantaged to have some of this, but when you come to areas like Turkana, areas like Garissa and all the other areas, we do not have enough masts. Hence, we do not have the network accessibility. This hinders me from sending money via M-Pesa to someone who is coming from a different region. Then what do I have to do instead? I have to take a bus, travel all the way to where that person is in order to give that person money in cash. And when I go back to the lack of enough facilities, please allow me to use an example of the DEFCO where we come from. We have a DEFCO that is a supermarket owned by the Kenya Defense Forces. They do not have M-Pesa facilities. Hence, what we have to do is, assuming one of our teachers wants to purchase goods at DEFCO and he or she does not have money in solid form, he or she will have to cross the ferry and go all the way to Nakumatt or Tuskys in order to purchase these goods. And this becomes, it's really disadvantaging. And again, you have to use all the costs to go all the way. Again, this causes hindrance. Thank you. I was Mercy from Moi Forces Academy. It was nice talking to you.
Opposition, you have 3 minutes to give us your opening statements.
I'm Edna from Ngina Girls, and I'm here to oppose the motion that states that poor infrastructure is a barrier to digital payment systems. First, some of you may ask yourself, what is infrastructure? Oh well, infrastructure, these are the basic facilities and equipments needed for the smooth running of an organization or even a country. A good example is power. We can all see that we have lightning and all the equipments here. If it wasn't for the power, that is the facility needed, then this all lighting and stuff will not have been possible. Another good example is the internet connectivity. We all know that the modem is one of the good examples of internet connectivity in the digital systems. And the digital systems, these are digital means of making payments, which are totally cashless. Like a good example is the use of the debit card. You just swipe and you make your payments. And I'd like to say, I believe that poor infrastructure is not the main barrier of the digital payment system. Things like the lack of confidence in the security of the system are actually the main barriers. The people lack confidence in this security. Like, for example, we all saw that in last year, 2014, there was a lobby group that filed a case court challenging the communication authorities of Kenya's decision to give Equity license to operate fully its mobile payment platform like the Equitel. And the main reason why they were challenging this is because citing of insecurity and confidence of the systems. It's evident in 2013 and 2014 that there was a lot of cyber crime and cyber fraud, especially in Africa. It was 75%, mostly to deal with the financial state. No one here would like to be stolen for or lose your money through fraud. It's actually painful. Personally, I wouldn't open an account or get in a system that I'm not confident about and I'm not sure about. So, the people lack confidence. So whether there is good infrastructure and sundry, if people lack confidence in these things, then digital payment system will not be able to be applicable in Kenya. Then something else that hinders this, is a barrier to this digital payment system, is lack of information. The people lack information on how to operate this digital paying system. And if the good infrastructure is there, but if you lack the information on how to operate this digital payment system, I don't think that the good infrastructure being there will be of any help. Thank you for your audience.
We'll now hear rebuttals, beginning with the proposers. You have 3 minutes.
Ladies and gentlemen, we live in a country that is under much appraisal from the international community, that we are a developing country in the sub-Saharan Africa. We are ranked 4th, the best in Africa, after Ghana, Egypt, and Nigeria. And the international index of this nation is 74 at the United Nations, whereby we are the developed country. A Swahili adage that says, kitanda chokilalia ukiji kunguni wake. I am here to give you the facts that are there. We live in a country that is still struggling to ensure that the nation, in every corner of this nation, gets power supply. But let's look around us. Let us go to the remote areas of Moyale, Loki Town, Loki Chogyo, name them all. These places lack the power supply to initiate digital payment systems. And we also know that digital payment system, in everything, it needs power. Power is necessary for us to embrace digital payment system, whereby they can enable the use of computers, whereby we are told a computer needs stable power supply. And without it, digital payment system is just a dream. We have satellite services. Kenya, up to date, still uses international satellite services from Google and other international giant communication firms. For instance, our country does not even have or own a satellite that can enable us to communicate. And we are told for communication to be enabled, whereby we are going to have digital payment services, we need to have a satellite that is going to relay information from a transmission point to an ending point. But we see that without these factors, digital payment services is hampered, whereby We cannot communicate with the bank in Loki Town and the Central Bank of Kenya because these places are remote, and due to lack of such services, we cannot have digital payment system. We need education facilities to empower the nation, that we need digital payment system, that we need to have them in our pocket. But we see that it was of recent, through government policy, that we are embracing computer studies in our nation, and still much of the population in Kenya is still in hinterland, whereby they do not know about digital payment system. For instance, when you go to the rural areas, you find that when you ask someone about M-Pesa, they do not know of the services because they are not being acquainted to it. And my name is Mohamed Mwalim. I'm from Moi Forces Academy.
Mama Ngina will now hear your rebuttal. You have 3 minutes.
Ladies and gentlemen, I love the way they conducted themselves. I believe if my proposers would try to smile, then things would be better. Someone said that we lack the facilities, we lack connectivity. Hey, we are in the digital world. Analog system was dumped in the 20th century. Nowadays, we have the Wi-Fi connection. The Wi-Fi is widespread because of the use of mobile devices, Wi-Fi and 3G. This is the most suitable form of connectivity. We do not need to rely on fiber connectivity for us to be able to access the internet, which is currently the most used in form of digital payment systems. I believe that in the comfort of my home, I can access Wi-Fi by this device called the modem. My fellow proposer showed us an example of this. My proposers talked about electricity. Don't you know that we have solar power? That people use solar power in these areas we call inaccessible? We have people who are able to use the energy from the sun and harness it to be able to provide services that are required. Seriously, we are talking about poor infrastructure. But have we looked at our literacy level? Did you know that only 70% of Kenyans are literate? What happens to the 30%? They're illiterate. That is, if in any case we were to provide the infrastructure, still they would not be able to use it. Take for example, a man had an ATM card. He had a bank account and he went to withdraw cash. When he reached there, he saw people withdrawing money. And he was like, okay, this is why I should do this. So he went and he asked, okay, what is happening here? And everybody was like, it's obvious. You have to do this, do that, put in the card, type your PIN, then get out your cash. You know what this man did? He went, he withdrew all his cash, took it to the cashier, and told the cashier, do you know what, cashier? Keep this money inside there, because out here, I think my money is also going to be withdrawn. This just shows us how illiterate some people can be, and the lack of information can affect us so much. I believe that if we stop blaming it on infrastructure, okay, it's a problem, but it's not the only problem. And I hope that you can see it. I rest my case.
What is love without M-Pesa?
M-Pesa helps you to save and send money.
Wherever you go, you find M-Pesa.
If you love money, M-Pesa is the way to go.
Take part in the M Challenge by sending your short song, rap, or poem about Safaricom M-Pesa on WhatsApp, and you could win 1,000 shillings in Safaricom airtime.
The audience has posed questions to the two teams. The proposers have been asked, is the lack of physical infrastructure such as ATMs really a barrier to digital payment systems? And the opposition has been asked, is lack of information also a barrier to digital payments? They'll be responding shortly. Proposer number 3, you have 3 minutes.
Well, at this point in junction, I think I'm moved to believe what I once heard in the internet, saying that over 25% of people in our country may not be to their senses. Actually, I thought it was irony until I heard of this topic today. Well, of somebody asking me how he can pay money from his home when he knows very well that even the very phone needs to be charged is much of an irony than a reality. I think that electricity is part of infrastructure. In fact, a very deep part of infrastructure to be in that case. Now, if you really are going to tell me that you're going to pay that money from your home, yet you yourself over there may not even be owning the very phone, how will you even pay that money in the first place? And if you do, and don't even have the very electricity, and with the couple of power surges that you're having in a country, I really aren't convinced that you're going to pay that money in real sense. Or maybe you're going to pay it in your dreams. From the very definition of the word infrastructure, I think I can describe infrastructure in the simplest way. The basic fundamental equipment and technology that are used in making a system applicable. Even from the very definition, you can realize that without infrastructure, nothing can go on. Actually, without infrastructure, there's an NGO, i.e., nothing going on. Now, if you really go to other senses, without the servers in this country, without the satellite services in this country, without even the ATM services in this country, without this electricity, how do you really expect to pay those services? Or is that plastic of yours you're calling an ATM workable without electricity? Isn't that ATM machine of yours powered by electricity? Think and answer that question by yourself. Now, I checked out on the last time, confirming about Kenya's infrastructural system. It was ranked 104th out of 250 nations. By clear distinction, that means that you have 103 nations ahead of us. Is that not insanity? When we claim to have a thicker superhighway over here, there are other countries which tell you that they have every of their road being a superhighway. There was a movie of late I was watching, Scorpion, and it happened to show the live picture of Los Angeles from the top, and all I could see were superhighways much greater than that of Kenya. We can use 500 million or 500 billion on corrupt cases. Just the other day, the Auditor General reported that only 6% of Kenya's money, which had been allocated for development, had been used properly. Ironically, 94% hadn't, relating to 54.5 billion shillings only to be used. That makes 6%. From your calculations, what do you get of the 94%? I'm McDonald Ndika, My Forces Academy.
Opposition, you have 3 minutes to respond.
Okay, at first I want to make some corrections. We are not talking about lack of infrastructure. It's about poor infrastructure. My fellow colleague, not my fellow colleague, actually, there's one of you who has asked a question about how information affects the digital payment systems. I give you a very simple example. You know about this issue of not paying fare using cash. There are these Lipa fare cards. You all know about them. Nakuru County, was one of the towns that took this thing positively, simply because there were agents who are informing them about these digital payment systems. I come from interior, they call it Bara. But from that place, we've totally not been informed about these paying cards. We don't have information, we lack information. And that is the reason why we cannot embrace this digital payment system. So I guess you are so much convinced about these digital payment systems. You've said another point that the banks and these digital payment systems, they are limited. I give you an example of M-Pesa or Safaricom services. I'm not being biased. Safaricom services has over 65,000 agents. You'll not tell me that they're only situated in those urban areas. Where I come from, we have more than 10 Safaricom M-Pesa shops. Don't tell me that those are urban areas. They are situated everywhere in this country. So telling me that these modern methods of making payments are only limited to those people who are living in urban areas, I'm not convinced about that. Okay, you've talked about electricity, but you've talked about the blackout. Right now, we've been here since morning. Have we experienced blackout? So don't talk about blackout. And more so when you look at these big organizations, they have solar energy that support it. Once there's a blackout, the solar energy is activated and the system continue running. So the issue of electricity, blackout, I'm not yet convinced about that communication system. It's one of the infrastructure. If the people are not well communicated about these digital payment systems, the infrastructure might be there, the communication facilities are okay, but you lack to inform people. What do you expect will happen? Will we move to these digital payment systems? We will not, because the people are not yet convinced. They have not yet been informed about this digital payment system. Where are we moving? We are supposed to move forward. Kenya is becoming digital. Why should we remain with these modern methods of making payments? And let us not blame infrastructure as the main thing that is affecting us. Look at things from different angles. You've talked about infrastructure. I agree it's the main thing. I admit that. But is it the only thing that is affecting us? Come to think of that. And my name is Mary Wanja from Ngina Girl. Thank you.
We'll now hear closing submissions. Proposition, you have a minute.
Just of recent, I discovered that our cooking has gone fireless. Our foods are fatless. Even our cars are becoming keyless. Our children are going mannerless. Our lawmakers are going careless. And even our wives are going fearless. This is also to mean that our phones are going wireless. Now, if everything is going less, why can't we go cashless? I think I live by a dream of seeing a point whereby nobody needs cash to pay for the economy, whereby the plastic is the only thing that shall be used to play. But if we are to go there, we really, really have to do something about our infrastructure. I wish for a point at time where Kenya can be ranked among the best 10 infrastructurally developed countries in the world. If we really have to go wireless and have to go cashless, then we really need to know how to do this. Infrastructure is the best weapon. Thank you.
Opposition, you have a minute as well.
People talk about infrastructure as the main thing that is affecting digital payment system. But when you look at things, there are other challenges that are affecting digital payment systems. So, why should we blame infrastructure and forget about other challenges that are facing us in terms of when you're trying to, as in move on to digital payment systems? Infrastructure, we've defined infrastructure. But if the infrastructure is okay, and we lack to embrace the other challenges that we're facing to enable us to migrate to digital payment system, are we moving ahead? We're still remaining at the same strategic place simply because we are considering infrastructure and we are putting more emphasis on infrastructure as if it is the only thing that is affecting us. We are being blinded by the fact that infrastructure, as in people are thinking that infrastructure is the only challenge that is affecting us. Please, let us open our eyes and look at the other challenges that are affecting us. Not only think about infrastructure, but think about other things. My fellow opposers, we are struggling to prove to other people that there are other factors that are affecting us. We should not complain when you're trying to make you understand, but appreciate us. Through what you're trying to make you understand, we're going to make Kenya a better place. Thank you very much.
Mama Ngina School, what you're telling us is poor infrastructure is not really the barrier. There are other barriers. Adhiambo began well with the lexical definition, at the same time definition by example, where you mentioned power supply and internet connectivity as examples of what you consider to be infrastructures. And you went ahead to mention lack of security, people lack confidence in them, and also lack of information. Baraka, we are in a digital era. To mean, I'm not really getting what you mean by we are in a digital era. And if I'm trying to assume what you're saying, then the question is, how widespread is the infrastructure? Because the argument was, we might have these infrastructures, but they are not that well spread. Or, we go to some places like Lodwar, Marsabit, maybe we lack those particular facilities. So when you said we are in a digital era, I think I did not get the connection between what you're saying and the argument actually that they are raised. Talking about Wanja, very good speaker. In fact, at one point, you agreed with your opponents in order to disagree, which is an effective debating style. Nonetheless, it was a good presentation and good debaters, and I love your confidence, and you are going to make a very good debater with more practice. To the two teams, it was a commendable job.
Mercy, that was a good analysis of when you brought out the aspect of poor infrastructure, the definition of terms, of course, and I think that was a good, strong start for your team. Edna, on the other hand, good points as well. I think you raised the point on insecurity and lack of confidence in the systems, which is well done. Good start as well for your team. Mohammed, I think I would want to pin you down a bit because of monotone. You know, you had points, all right? Just the way you deliver them. We want to really, you want to draw our attention so that at least we can know what you're saying. Same case to Faith. Of course, you even had a very nice analogy of a joke that you was trying to bring across. But you know how we just package it. We want it to flow, all right? So that at least we can now get it. McDonald, you know, you're not intimidated. You're a great speaker when you come to the stage, and I think you're a natural. Mary, I think you quite stood out as a speaker, you know, on the stage. Good clarification when you came and said we're not talking about poor infrastructure. I mean, we're talking about poor, not lack of infrastructure. Good speaker, use of rhetorics as well, and I think your style, you know, with even more practice can even be, you know, can blow you up in a nice way, all right? Okay, all the best to the two teams.
The judges awarded Moi Forces Academy Mombasa with 66%. Please give them a round of applause. As for their opponents, Ngina Girls High School, the judges awarded you 69%. You are our winners for the debate.
Congratulations to Ngina, and of course it was a good job by their opponents, Moi Forces, as well. We'd like to thank you for watching, and of course we thank our title sponsors Safaricom M-Pesa and KBC Channel 1. Remember to follow us on social media, on Twitter @GreatDebatersEA and all other platforms. It's been a pleasure having you. I'm Mariam Bishar.
And I am Austin Nyumbok. Catch you next time.
The Great Debaters Contest was brought to you by Safaricom M-Pesa.